Fantyx coming in with the third US. DuroSVK on the right side in game number 1 of this Grandfinals, coming in with the lovely fourth Mudschützen, a division that we haven't seen in this tournament at all yet. He will use his airborne units and his Mi-24Ds, most likely, to try to overwhelm this enemy here. And with $406 of prize pool currently on the line, this for sure is quite the important first game here already. Whoever can win this has the series going for him, has the initiative then to trying to put the enemy under heavy pressure in the future series. And Loop is an interesting map because both of these players have not played more than 2 or 3 games of this map so far at all. So they both still have to learn whilst playing here. It's a new map in in WARNO in general, and it's not in a ranked pool just yet. So let's see how they adjust to it and what they will come on to us with the start. What would you advise to these two players to go for here, Lathans?
I would actually advise forget about Delta on the opener. Try to secure the towns in both Foxtrot and Echo, and then you can slowly move into Delta. That would be my opener plan. You should still place 1 or 2 guard units just to see what's coming into Delta, but your main force should be up at Echo, in my opinion. That is the hardest town to retake, and if you first take it, you have such a good advantage, as it opens for the red player a good opportunity to pressure Delta from the left side, and it is a good reinforcement route to have for the blue player.
Yeah. Let's freaking go. M113 with the Ito by Team 84. So let's talk about again, who do you favor in this matchup? Yogdog, maybe start with you. Who do you think has the better matchup here?
I feel I favour Fantyx more here with third armoured. I think it's a really strong deck with a lot of really good units in. And I'll be very interested in tracking personally how the Apache does to begin with, because these expensive helicopters, bringing them out in deployment, has backfired on a couple of players we've seen. So I'm interested to see whether that will happen here. But it isn't all invested into helicopters. It can't be because of the current rule set. But it has been important in previous games and has basically been important to track the progress of the sides early on in the game.
So yeah, I also would favor Fantyx in general, which I guess Lathans you would agree with. But one word of caution, where you pointed out earlier that Duro won his games all early, and if there's a division to win on early with, I think it's 4th Moto. So he is really good in the early game, and I think 4th Moto gives you a lot of tool to use there or abuse there early on. Like for example, a unit that we already see deployed in the south, the SPG-9. And Fantyx also can get tilted, and if I think he loses here, his mindset might get diminished quite a bit. So this might be a mind game. If this pays off in game number 1 here for Duro, I feel like he has everything up in stacked in his favor then for the coming series. So Fantyx really needs to be careful here in the first 10 minutes, not getting bamboozled. As 3rd US is a bit more expensive of a deck, outside of a couple of the cheaper infantry units that it brings.
It also seems like Fantyx is sending a lot of his units into middle, which is counterproductive towards what his division wants to achieve. It does mean that he can't send units into middle, but he's sending a good majority of his forces into middle.
Yeah, well, Duro brings out a lot of his Fallschirmjägers here. Normal Fallschirmjäger and Medis, 2 of each there in the southern section, split up. So he should have a couple more left of these.
You should be careful though with those FS Jaegers, because the Apache can make a scrap meal out of them quite quickly, since the AA of force takes a good while to arrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, in the north, we have the Fallschirmjäger Medis coming in once more. We have a coup in the rear, and I would advise Duro to maybe start with a fighter, but you also have to be defensive with that. See how much the enemy brings in. So because if they have an F-15, your fighters are in danger as well, and you kind of want to still play around your coups. But yeah, Fallschirmjägers can get overrun by an Apache positioned well. Gonna see how that goes. So that
I think one of the most important elements of this game is how is Durov's going to counter the Air Force of Third Armored. If he can do it effectively, then that's going to negate one of the really strong cards in Fantyx's deck. So, yeah, tracking the effectiveness of his overall AA network is going to be really important.
yeah, I absolutely agree there. The Air Force of 30US is scary. But I think the plan of Duro is here to play a game that is not long enough for the Air Force to be assembled fully. And if Fantyx invests too much into the air, that Duro just tries to run down his enemy in the ground that he has achieved previously against... I try to remember, who was it again? Was it... Yeah, I was against Dyke Neutron on 2 ways. And I think this map here is wide enough that you can just punish an enemy for over-investing into air by just stretching them out too far on the ground. If you give them enough too many cheap targets to deal with. So, yeah. The prediction already is up, chat. Yeah, it's already over. You needed to be faster there, guys. If you didn't gamble your points now, you have to wait till game number 2. Can't reopen it. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
I'm also a bit worried for Duro's opener if the Apache is followed up with an A10, because it seems like Duro has spent what seems to me as he has bought one fighter with the amount of money he spent on the ground. I don't think that's enough to deal with an Apache and an A10.
Yeah, most likely not. But if you can move with Utilus the fighter together with the coops well, you could do it. And I don't know if we will see an A10 here right at the start. Fantyx often not quite the guy for it, and I mean, he has invested a lot of points. There's a lot of points already deployed on the battlefield. He has 1 or 2 CVs? 1 CV. He has the Apache. He has quite a lot of recon units, which are all not that cheap. He has a couple of Bradleys and an Ito. I think he doesn't have the points for it anymore. I might be wrong, as it's also a lot of infantry. And it just might look bigger than it is. But I'm not sure if he has an A10 left in here. Hitler coming in the south. Aufklärer will go in here as well. And here we go. Game number 1 of the Grandfinals has started. Fantyx on the left side, coming in with the 3rd US forces. Going for Delta on the new map of Loop. And we have 2 CVs once more here for DuroSVK, bringing in the 4th Motorisierte Schützendivision. A lot of his forces moving towards the center here. So he wants to play the Delta game. He wants to move around it. 1 SPG going defensively in the south. I thought he would go more aggressively there. As with the forward deployment, he for sure could rush for Fox. Yes, he has decided it's a bit slower to echo towards Echo and Fox. But if you have forward deployment, Fallschirmjäger deployment, and the enemy doesn't, you can get there still faster at Foxtrot. He doesn't go for it though. MiG-29 out. Trying to hunt down the Apache. He spotted with the Me Too. Do we have an F-15? No F-15 yet. First minute of income comes in 5 seconds though. That might allow for it. Apache not quite getting killed. MiG-29 not successful there with its R-73 missiles. And only one 30mm, so it's not quite the damage output that some of the other fighters have towards that. As we go into the battle here in the middle now. Fallschirmjägers coming in. MiG-29.
That Duro gave up the town to Fantyx and didn't contest it at all.
Yeah, he goes
as he has
air.
forward deployment, he should be able to get in there first. Against 30US, who only gets recon deployment.
But he gets the town in the middle, and I mean, Fantyx wants to contest the middle town relatively heavily as well. So being in here with the Fallschirmjägers and Fallschirmjäger Maddies at the position where he's in might still allow Duro some really favorable traits here on the ground. As our Hungarian player also tries to get the CV there into the center. +4 currently for Duro. That is a nice take. That's 160 points per minute. MiG-29 a bit careful now with trying to approach the Apache. Apache already gets resupplied by the M35. But the MiG-29 at least stopped the Apache from going rampage. All the Fallschirmjägers got into the positions where they wanted to be. Coop's now in position. And Mi-24D AT coming in the rear as well. With a decent amount of firepower as well. 80mm rockets, Phalang P, ATGM, and a Yak P autocannon can deal good damage to these ground units as well. But the Chaparral, if in good enough quantities, can absolutely shut down helicopter play. Fallschirmjägers now moving towards the LRS. Both of these units are special forces. So Fallschirmjägers running through the open left them a bit out there for damage. Second Fallschirmjäger should follow it up, help out. As Fantyx is now putting this all on hold when with the take for Duro. As Duro
Really like that Mi-24D purchase from Duro. If he pushes this aggressively up and deals with LRS and the scout that Fantyx has, he's more or less blind in the middle.
Yeah. The Chaparral tried to bait out, the MiG-21 tried to bait out the Chaparral, but the Chaparral gets the kill on the Mi-24D. Whoa!
Ooh, dude, that's massive.
But both go down. MiG-29 and the F-15. Coop getting some really good connections, but the F-15 also, this time around with good missiles. That's the sabotage phase is over for F-15, so the F-15 gets the MiG-29 as well. Two important air losses for both players there. And the Mi-24...
I don't know if Fantyx has gone for both the cards of F-15, but he could possibly have 4 F-15s, while Duro at max can only have 2 MiG-29s.
Yes, so losing the MiG-29 there, quite a big loss. The Coop really doing well there on the ground, but not good enough. Not quite in the timely manner, and I'm surprised to see Duro only engaging with one Fallschirmjäger at a time in the center. I feel like you kind of want to stack them all at once. Ooh, but the Medis gets a Bradley before the Bradley even can unload its unit. So Fallschirmjäger Medis doing some good job on the southern part of the zone. Meanwhile, Coop now engaging the Apache as well, getting the Apache really low. Can it find a kill? No, Apache not quite down yet, but the Igla and the Fallschirmjägers do it, so Apache down as well. This Coop is absolutely on fire. This Coop is an absolute MVP so far for Duro. Killing off an Apache and an F-15. Tick is now +1 for Fantyx as he gets the northern zone. And the center zone is under heavy contestants with all the military police and the engineers here around. Modschützen and pioneers coming in for Duro. Trying to get into the middle. But we have the first M1A1 Abrams rolling in here for Fantyx on the left side.
To build on what you said, I'm surprised that Duro isn't deathballing his FS Jaegers into the town and kicking Fantyx out.
Yeah. Like his Fallschirmjägers are being used all around, but they are used one by one, which is...
I also think that Fallschirmjägers shouldn't be used as backdoor the guards of the backdoors. They should be used in the offensive positions instead of pushing your Modschützen forward.
Yeah, I mean, he waited for the Modschützen here though, and the engineers are scary in that situation, and as is the military police with their recoilless rifles, so...
Ooh, crit on the M1 Abrams.
Getting a stun there, but what was the... Is it just a stun or is it a...
I think it's a side armor. I'm not sure, it did more HP on the third missile than the rest.
HE bomber coming in here in the middle, doing a good hit, but not insane. And the Medis are out of ammo, so the M1A1 is still surviving. F-15 this time not flying over the Coop. That's a good idea. After what we saw last time. The Mi-24D though, once more under fire by the Chaparral. But this time the Chaparral not quite as lucky with the hits. Mi-24D could now try to go for the hunt down there, as it's only a single Chaparral. More pioneers coming in here now for Duro. And we will see how that goes. Engineers moving forward. Chaparral in the rear. Mi-24D disengaging. Coop in the south. Aufklärers down on the bottom. Pioneer flamethrowers and Modschützen coming in here for the center as well. Engineers under heavy fire. Starting to get killed off. Pioneers moving forward. Should get the engineers killed. Pioneers there with some nice hits. About both sides having engineers. Oh. Pioneers get the advantage, get the engineers killed. So Duro with the infantry fights going in his favor, but +1 for Fantyx, as Fantyx has
The Pioneers have a big advantage over the Engineers at the moment, with having the Resolute trait, making them less likely to be stunned or getting high suppression levels.
But engineers are 10 men, whilst pioneers are only 8 men. So satchel charges dealing 2 damage at a time means that you need 1 more satchel charge to kill the engineer than you need to kill the pioneers. So I think it's relatively even fight in that regard. But we will see. Scouts and LRS trying to hold the line. Meanwhile, Engineer Flash moving forward. SPG-9 with a nice shot here. Oh boy.
Fantyx is about to go up on a +2 with the arrival of a CV in Foxtrot.
Yeah, and then he will catch up to Duro relatively quickly. Modschützen and Pioneer Flam coming around here. Pioneer moving forward over here as well.
Also get the Pioneers Flam out, which I think is a great option in these town fights, as you break down buildings so fast.
Yeah, Pioneer Flamethrower moving around. M113A3 shooting M1A1 in the rear here. Coming in with some nice shots. Puck MT12 coming in here.
Engineer Flash is absolutely destroying the FS Jaeger.
And the M1A1 on the hill really, really good. So Fantyx in its strong spot here in game number 1 so far. With the flanks secured and the center still heavily contested. Duro not finding any snowball just yet. But he brings a lot of units into the north. A lot of Pioneers and Modschützen coming in here. Fallschirmjägers and Fallschirmjäger Medis moving in here. As we have a lot of T-55As coming in from the rear.
I think Fantyx has set up a good defensive line for the northern push that is coming in. He's having some engineers, he's having the MG, the Bradleys there. You just need to shift the units around a bit.
Yeah, but big push here now from the side with the Fallschirmjägers and the Modschützen. The SPG-9's also still really deadly. So that push has potential here. Bradleys have to be careful. They don't survive much damage. SPG-9 already on top of it. Yeah, Bradley smokes out. Engineers though, coming forward, being able to throw some TNTs. No, not quite. Yeah, just out of
Fantyx
range.
Chaparral in the middle also needs to get a pay raise. It just took down its second chopper for a game.
Yeah, Chaparral there, really doing a good job. But at the same time, Duro now coming in the north, having a CV in there as well. Bradley trying to tail out from the other side, but the infantry fight currently going absolutely in favor of Duro here. The Pioneer Flamethrowers doing a really good job pinning down the engineers and fire teams.
Oh, that's a big mistake with the F-15 going down. Flying way too deep.
Yeah, Coops once more coming in together with the MiG-29s. MiG-21 in the south coming in with a solid bombing run as well. The Chaparral once... No, that sounded like a hit. It was not a hit though. It was a near miss. So the MiG-21 will get the hell out of there. And is Duro breaking north? M1A1 coming around might be the clutch save here. Getting some nice shots onto some Modschützen. Other than that, this town is really under such heavy pressure. Modschützen getting quite heavily bullied there. M60 7.62mm gun. Really doing a good job. SPG-9 firing onto the M60 in the bottom, but the M1A1 is in a supreme position there. And there's nothing around to kill it. Airplanes potentially could, and with the F-15s down, I feel like investing into an Su-22 cluster could be the answer here. But we don't see that at the moment. And the big question is, does Fantyx have the second cut of F-15s? I would expect it, but if not, he might be in hot waters by now.
In a matchup like this, he should really take it. At the bottom, Duro is preparing to put the CV into the bottom point at Foxtrot.
But there's a Bradley in a really good spot, so that won't be easy. The Rapira needs to take that out before he can advance on it. He should see that Bradley, thanks to his Aufklärers having a good spot here.
He does indeed see that Bradley. He also sees the tow team, which is surprising.
Yeah, the Aufklärers are in a really hot spot. And Fantyx is not seeing the Aufklärers with his LRS. It's also a bit surprising. So I guess exceptional stealth is really strong. Meanwhile, BMP 1P's coming in the southern part of the middle town. Trying to get some reinforcements in there together with T-55. As the M1A1s all moved north, those can do some long-range damage. Both M1A1s now up there. And Fantyx kind of stopped the push into the town. A lot of infantry of Duro got chewed up by those M1A1s firing into the town time and again. BMP 1P dying now as well. So
The two T-55s just managed to take out the chapel, which was being really effective as well.
yeah, that interesting. It's so much action all over the board. The Bradley in the south got hit by the Rapira, but didn't quite get killed. And now the Rapira is not in range anymore. So action on every part of the front right now. In the center, I think Duro slowly is moving forward. In the north, though, he is kind of stuck here. And is starting to lose his really valuable Fallschirmjägers. As he doesn't have that many special forces in the end. A lot of Modschützen now coming in, which are still strong thanks to the Resolute, thanks to the WMG, but they're not Fallschirmjägers. They're not special forces. And the M1A1s on the side here, taking one unit out after another. Now opening up on the T-55 Ace, one of them falling. Yeah, the M1A1 here, really, really important. And I feel like Duro needs to go for airplay against that. I don't know how he beats them any other way. Or...
Remember that we're approaching the 20-minute mark where Fantyx is getting into the ballpark of how his division is taking over the advantage. Where you usually get more combined arms going.
yeah.
But this bodes really well for Fantyx.
And he is still on the +1. He has the point advantage already. And yeah, Duro not going for the for much airplay yet whatsoever. I feel like after killing two F-15s, that should kind of what he should go for. He lost his coup in the north, by the way, to the Abrams. And the Abrams is locking down all the other infantry reinforcements as well. We have Akatsia coming. But I feel like artillery is not that easy to use on this map, because the enemy can just dodge out of it relatively easily. There's only a couple of spots on the map where you really need to stay in, where artillery can just pin you down. Other than that, you can be relatively fluent, and it's not that easy to just hit target time and time again. It's not a two-leg situation whatsoever. So, Duro, we will see if he can make it pay off. I mean, we still have a lot of time remaining, but yeah, the combined arms of 3rd US is looking hotter and hotter here. M1A1s, Bradleys, a decent amount of Chaparrals, another Apache rocket coming around. But Duro can't really level up above his T-55 Fallschirmjäger BMP-1 setup. You don't have any high-class units in the late game as for Fallschirmjäger. Just don't get any in that regard. But here we go. The first couple of bombers coming around. Su-22HE getting a nice shot, but another F-15 is around. So the second card of F-15 is confirmed here with this. But another F-15 bites the dust, and the MiG-29 once more does survive. So if that is not encouraging Duro to do more air spam now, I don't know what is. With 3 out of 4 F-15s down, I think you can just fill out your air tap time and again and just send it all in and win the game with that, can't you?
Yeah, I agree. The only issue is if Fantyx is able to get a critical mass of Chaparrals and Stingers going, but I don't think it's likely to do so anytime soon.
Yeah, he's now buying all the Chaparrals. That is what he needs to do. As if Duro now decides to fill out his 9 air tap slots that he can get in, and maybe even put 3 helicopters next to that, he can absolutely wreak havoc from the skies now on third US Armored. Like, 3rd US Armored in airplay usually doesn't struggle too much because of the F-15s. They can take down any plane. But your ground-based AA is not great against aircraft. Chaparrals deal decent damage, but their accuracy is abysmal, and their range is rather weak as well. So, trying to kill down enemy planes with 30% or 20% ECM is quite a struggle. And this is
And
where
even
we
though
are now.
Fantyx has 6 trap rolls out on the field, he keeps forgetting to resupply them. So his effective amount of AA is basically halved. And there, one trap roll got sniped as well by a Metis squad, or a Conquerors.
Moving on here. Akatsia trying to hit some chaparrals in the south now. Yeah, that is the next thing that you can do here now. If you hunt down all the enemy AA with artillery, you can really make them bleed. But the Akatsia chaparral is moving. Good movement. Good decision there by Fantyx. I don't think it was on purpose. But, well, at least not against the artillery. I would say it was more against the off-clearer, but now he dodges the artillery with that sidestep. As we have an M1A1 coming in. Meanwhile, Me Too in the north coming in, T-55A coming in as well. Conquers. Coming in against the Hammett. Oh, that would be a good find. Yes, that's an important find. Less supply for the Chaparrals. There's no supply truck with any meaningful supply now in the center for for Fantyx whatsoever. And the MiG-21 bomber coming around. No Chaparral reloaded here. So that MiG-21 just comes around, does smack hard. MiG-23 MF coming in to try to kill some Apaches, I guess. There's no Apaches around. Okay, just coming in here to find enemy Chaparrals. 10% ECM on the MiG-23 is its biggest weakness though. And the Chaparrals, 2 of them, might be able to do the job. Last F-15 coming out now.
We'll
And
need evac
here we
before
go.
it goes too deep.
Oh. First Su-22 pushed back, but the F-16 once more hit by the Coops. The Coops really on target. MiG-23 MF gets the last F-15. And now Duro really can unleash the dragon. MiG-21 BIS gets the hit onto the ground. No F-15s remaining for the American player here. Maybe you can press 8 hands into the air defense roll a bit now, but you don't have any ASF left in your deck. MiG-21 BIS, Su-22s, and Co really can wreak havoc now.
This shows why it's so important to use your F-15 as missile trucks. You don't want them ever to use their Gatling gun. Just fire off the missile, pull back, and do another round. As their missiles are super deadly, but they get so vulnerable when they overextend like that over enemy anti-air or into Gatling range of the enemy's planes.
Scouts and engineers here getting hit pretty hard. +2 still for Fantyx, so he still has a decent point advantage.
Also quite bold to drive the M1A1s into the town fight by Fantyx.
Yeah.
It can pay off if he keeps the front armor towards Motorstützen, but it is quite risky.
Ooh, MiG-21 rockets now also starting to hunt down Chaparrals. One of them got hit by a Chaparral missile, instantly got forced to fall back, but the second one gets the kill on one of the Chappies here. We still have see more coming. I would guess there still should be a couple in Fantyx's deck to bring out. But if the number drops too low, then Duro really could just spam him down here. Though with only 19 minutes remaining, Duro is on a timer.
The issue for Duro is that even if he takes Delta completely, they're neutralizing the points gaining, so he also needs to get into the side zone.
Or push deep, I guess.
Or push deep, that is also
pushing into Charlie is an option as well. But yeah, for now there's M1s around here. M1s and M1A1s. ACAF coming up as well. And yeah, we see another MiG-21 BIS rocket coming around here. Trying to hunt down an M1A1, but that one did fall back. There's a good amount of Chaparrals now. The northern ones are all out of ammo though. The other one here starting to fire. Oh, one of them connects. Dealing 6 damage. But that means even more supply used up on these Chaparrals. And there's no supply truck with full ammo next to them. One's in the north really desperately in the need of supply.
Yeah, I feel like Fantyx's use of his air force has not been as good here. Uh, I mean, losing all of those F-15s is a massive blow. You've got 4 of them. You can afford to play a bit fast and loose with the first couple, but he really needed to husband them a little bit better with the last 2. And losing those is such a blow, and I think we're seeing here that the chaparrals alone aren't going to be enough. He's already lost a couple of chaparrals to T-55s and even like infantry AT. So it's pretty rough at the moment, I would say, for Fantyx. Although his score keeps ticking up, and there's 17 minutes left, so we're getting into the later stages here.
Yeah. At the same time, we see a really important push here from Fantyx in the south, and the T-55A leader that doesn't have smoke being caught by an M1A1, as Fantyx is going for the deep push here. And
Just stopping the tank where he's currently standing is a great move, as it cuts off the furthermost ridge. And if you move the tank a bit towards the river, you can actually shoot against the road on the other side of the river as well. It's a great tank placement.
yeah, but there is only one chaparral behind it, so any MiG Su-22 HE bomber or so will finish it off with one pass. Let's see how that goes. LRS pushing in here as well. No CV directly to follow up onto India, so capturing India here at the moment has some merit, but is not super valuable for Fantyx. So I'm
I
not
don't even
sure.
think he needs to capture a zone. He only needs to stay in it, stay there, and make Duro spend time removing him, because that's time he's not.
Whoa.
That's an Abrams, which is in a very rough position there.
The
That is
ammo
indeed.
explosion was really, really painful there for the M1A1. But the Rapira is relatively close to dying to the LRS as well. Mi-24 DAT coming in. And yeah, that's... I meant... obviously, if he gets India a hold of India, that's fine. But I feel like the move forward was a bit too risky for
I
them not
agree.
having the
He
option
should
of
have
catching
just
it.
stayed where he was. The thing is, the more time Duro has to spend trying to clear the threat of India falling, his time is not spending on getting Delta and even pushing into Charlie or the side zones, while Fantyx stays at +2 and is currently going to territory where it's almost impossible for him to lose.
Yeah, I'm also not a big fan of the MiG-21 rockets, especially at the current stage, because currently those planes take a air slot that you could have filled with a cluster Su-22 or HE Su-22, which would just deal so much more damage. And you only have 9 air slots, so if they're all full, you can't buy any more airplanes in WARNO, just like in Wargame Red Dragon. And that means this MiG-21 here is eating up a really important slot there that stops him from air spamming with more efficient units. Okay, we get a couple of pivots, 4 pivots coming in the north now. And yeah, Fantyx still seems to be in a commanding position here. But Duro with some chances now, after the F-15 plunders. Akatsia coming in against the M1A1 and the Bradley. Not quite getting any solid hits yet though. There we go.
We are at the point where, for the rest of the game, if Duro at this point and forward is sitting at a +2, he won't catch up with Fantyx, so he needs to do something amazing to win this game.
Yeah. M150 and pivots coming around. But Duro basically needs to overrun his enemy completely now. Airplay could allow for that, but I don't think with MiG-21 rockets there is enough power in the air. Like, you kind of need like 6 planes that can one-shot any kind of tank that the enemy brings forward, and then you just run with T-55s down. But he doesn't have that amount of tanks that can do that. Like, his MiG-21s don't quite kill the enemy M1A1s, and his the rocket ones especially don't do it.
Just doesn't feel like he has the ground forces either to overrun at the minute. And he has time to bring them in, but the more time he takes to bring them in, the less chance he's going to be able to pull us back, because those points keep on ticking up for Fantyx here. The longer that's left here by Duro, the less chance he has to bring us back in his favour.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, with only 13 minutes remaining and Fantyx still ticking up, this is looking like it's a position where Duro really can't kind of bring it back anymore. Okay, gets the shot roll in the self, gets a toe there, but he needs to do maneuvers like this a lot more now. He's bringing in a couple of helicopters in the south now. That one of the Chaparrals has died, but there's pivots now on the way. Fantyx ready for any kind of air shenanigans. More pivots moving up here. And only a +2. But that +2 already got Fantyx quite a lot of points, as he had it for a long, long while. Similar to what he had against Tippy.
I also quite enjoy how careful Fantyx is with that Apache. Like, that is his if everything goes wrong button to use. Because he currently doesn't need it in the current game situation, so he doesn't even bother to risk it.
Yeah, Duro tries to get another CV up to the northern point as well. But for getting there, he needs to cross an open field, and there are quite a couple of Bradleys and M1A1s around. And the T-55A leader, I'm absolutely not a fan of. The AM one I like, but the A version has horrible armor and no smoke especially. And having a 135 point tank leader that can't smoke itself off just feels pretty painful to me.
There's a bit of a helicopter push, or was, in the south here by Duro, but it's been repulsed by a Chaparral and a couple of P-bids. So it'll be interesting to see whether they go for the full-on assault there or not.
But yeah, Fantyx really forgets to buy supplies for his Chaparrals. Like, what you want to do with Chaparrals is usually always buying them with a supply truck at the same time. And now we have a big air spam here once more. SU-22 gets the M1A1. MiG-21 HE gets the pivots. Fallschirmjäger helps out there. So the south is open now. Mi-24D not quite synced with the BMP ones with the Modschützen. So that Mi-24D might go down. Oh, down to 1 hit point. Needs to be resupplied. MiG-23 MFs coming in for the Thunderbolt. You don't want to have that thing going through. Yeah, that thing is stunned down. Going down. The MiG-29 dying right now might not even be a bad thing, because it would allow you another bombing units. So yeah, losing either of these would not even be too bad if you lose the fighters right now. But killing off the A-10, really important. But Duro needs to push now. Here now is the thing. He needs 1,400 points, so that doesn't come easily.
I mean, Duro needs to take both Foxtrot and Delta, really, here to have a chance.
At this point, he needs 160 points.
More than that. Yeah,
he needs a +4, +5, +6. So he really needs a commanding advantage here. Needs to take some of the rear zones for sure.
I just think there's too many units in front of Duro for that being possible, even if he air spams for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Which he will be capable of now, but he also doesn't have a CV for the south.
I would like to see Duro actually start to sneak CVs. I think that's his only option left.
Yeah,
if you could get some into Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, that would be amazing.
Well, Bravo now has Abrams CV there already, so I think Fantyx has guessed that some shenanigans might be attempted here.
MiG-21 rocket coming around here. Fallschirmjäger moving forward, getting a nice shot. BMP-1P clearing out the stuff, but he doesn't have his CV here.
I think he's out of CVs or somewhere close to that because he's rerouting his T-55A CV.
Yeah, and that takes a long while, meaning that he also for sure can't sneak any around then.
And he's at a severe risk of it actually running out of fuel. T-55s are one of the units with the shortest autonomy in the game.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Pack in the north getting some shots onto an M1A1, but not hitting. M1A1 there, shot side armor. And it's getting hit in the front. Doesn't see the Rapira. So the Rapira eventually might be able to take it out. Once we have some more Motschützen coming in the north. Yeah, he really needs Delta. But currently it's still a +2 here for Fantyx. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like
it's
Fantyx has done
the
enough
advantage
here.
now is even bigger. And it's even less time. So it kind of would need like a 16-0 kind of scenario would be necessary of him just taking all the zones, and that's just most likely not possible. So yeah, Fantyx didn't play well in the air, but he played pretty decent on the ground. Got the Mi-24Ds shut down time and again. Dealt with the Fallschirmjägers pretty decently at the beginning. And got himself the zones on the side, which I was surprised we didn't see Duro going for with his Fallschirmjäger start. But I guess that's also part of these two players not quite knowing the map yet. Or that M1A1 might be dead. Yeah, that M1A1 is dead.
Props for Duro's last push there, because that was a well executed push where you had your infantry fighting vehicles, you had your infantry, you had your supporting weapons, you had your helicopter, and you had your planes all attacking at the same time.
Yeah, it was a really nice example of combined arms, and
Yeah, if Duro
there
would
was
have a
longer in
fast
this
CV
game.
right now, 1 or 2 extra fast CVs, I think there would have been still a chance, but with a T-55 having to cross the whole map to get down here, he is just arriving at the nick of time to stop him from outright losing to 2,000 points. As he's coming in right now, it's reducing it to a +1, reducing it to 0-0 in a second. But that's still 6 minutes left to get 1,709 points for him, and that just is a number that is most likely way too big.
You need a +8 at that time.
A10 Thunderbolt under pressure. And yeah, he doesn't have the units to push in the center. There's too much AA for him to use planes efficiently there. And yeah, he has potential for going for a +4 in the south. E55 should allow for that. But he needs a +10 by the time he gets things done, I guess. Or maybe even more than that. And that's just not gonna happen here.
Yeah, it's quite a fun game. This the early game was interesting with the air forces dueling each other, but even though Fantyx did lose those F-15s, he's done enough and focused on the objectives and taken those points, and it's left him at a critical advantage in the later stages of this game. There's not going to be a chance here Duro will be able to catch up on points, so it is going to hand him the victory.
Yeah, good kills here. Motschützen moving forward. You see the T-55A here of Duro nearly out of fuel. E2 going into the rear. But with only 5 minutes remaining, Duro is still trying to play on here. But it's just not enough time. Or Akatsias now. Yeah, he really played a good game with Motschützen here in the later part. He really showed what this division makes, so, like the snowballs that this division can go into. And it has a pretty solid combined arms. But it's just that he didn't quite get the early game into the state where he wanted it to be. And played a bit of a weird positional game. Against the Fantyx that did that part on the ground really, really well. It's only that Fantyx is still not a great air micro player. And that really showed with the F-15s. Four minutes remaining here. And yeah, what a game. What a game one. It was way closer in the end when it comes to the situation on the board than I expected. But it's just not, just Duro not quite having the forces anymore to capitalize on his major success.
This is a lesson in how important it is to get control of your zones early with the current CV changes, or you don't get snowballed on with victory points. Your opener should really contain a CV, or on maps like this, 2 CVs to get the points as soon as possible.
I mean, Duro did that. That's how he got his 256 points. But yeah, he didn't secure the center, which he needed to do with his playstyle of leaving the 2 sides open. And then he left the side takes on for way too long. Like 15 minutes of Fantyx getting the side takes while still also contesting in the middle. Just didn't allow for Duro to get enough stuff. He will go up to a +4. He will catch up quite a couple of points here now. But Fantyx on the left is starting to struggle. You can always check down there in the middle. Left side is always the name on the left. Right side is always the name on the right, my friend. And yeah. Fantyx coming in on the left here with mech rifles. Duro coming in. Getting some outflowers in the north. Finding the CV here. Gets to +4. Might even get his T55 in for +8. But even then, it's just not enough. He gets the CV in the middle. That's a +6 already. It might be a +10, but it's just too late. It's just too late. +6 are 240 points per minute. So that means he will get another 480 here. Maybe another 500 something. If he gets the CV over into a Charlie. But at this point, there's just not enough points on the whole map for him to win this.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this game was a lot closer than the scoreline suggests, though. Fantyx had excellent use of his aircraft in general, and some really nice positioning with his AA early on, which allowed him to gain the aerial advantage, translating into the late stages. But overall, Fantyx just was able to take those points really strong and hold on to him for quite a long time on both flanks. And I think that's the decisive part of this game.
I also think letting third US get through the ban and pick phase is also a mistake.
Yeah, it is a very strong division overall. Has access to some really good units, and yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that.
I mean, Duro thinks 82nd is the strongest division in the game. So, that was the division he banned. He only has one ban as player 1. So, yeah. That's why he didn't ban 3rd. Though I would say, with the rule set we have, 82nd is not quite as strong as 3rd. With the limitation of the amount of stuff you can bring in. Mick29 there gets the kill. And yeah, he gets up to a +10 here. In the last couple of seconds, so he really got a lot of points in the end, but it's just a bit too late with the air spam and so on. Coming in here, really helping him out after he did a great job killing off the F-15s, but he didn't play the ground good enough early on. And that means in the end, DuroSVK will lose to Fantyx in game number 1. And Fantyx is up 1-0 in this best of 5. GGVP. Really well played. And that means we go on to Black Forest in game number 2. And that should be a really interesting one as well. As Fantyx played a fantastic game against Hippie on that map earlier. But Duro showed really good prowess on Black Forest so far as well. So, should be really, really cool. We will be going into that